Welcome to If You Live It. We're doing a quick introduction of this Wednesday's video, diving deeper into love. We're going to look at the timestamps. All of this is under a minute, so you can decide, is this something that will help your spiritual journey? Is this some place where you can find more happiness in your life and grow closer to truth? So number one, defining love. What is it? Why is it important? What is valuable about it? Number two, consciousness. How is it the backdrop of everything? How does all content arise out of consciousness? Number three, we look quickly as our base definition coming from the Gospel of John as love being the right hand of God. We move into what is that right hand of God? How is it important? Why is it valuable? Obvious reasons. Characteristics of God, we dive into that as consciousness is love being two of them. Defining existence, what is it? May surprise you. Choosing love, how we do it over and over and over again. Love is a pathway to God, to enlightenment, to nirvana, to truth. The illusion of opposites, filling up our lives with love, becoming unconditional love for ourselves and the world around us. The root of all sin. Check that part out. That's an interesting one. Choice, and then strength. A little over a minute, but you get the point. Peace, love. I hope you check out the video. I hope you continue on this video, and it's of value to you. Many blessings. Bye. Welcome to If You Live It, a pathway to freedom, a book, a community, videos, meetings, and so much more. This channel is growing. This place is developing. These Friday videos continue. So far, chapters 1 through 10 have been released. 2 more weeks for releasing free chapters 11 and 12. Then we move into the in-person and online videos. Some exciting news is coming. I can't quite share it with you, but these videos will hit the road. These opportunities to talk about God are hitting the road, and they're going to be going around the world, which is very exciting. Can't talk about it yet, other than it's starting to come through as a need to plan trips in other parts of the country, other parts of the world, and kind of throughout the state that I'm currently in as well. So we'll get to that at a later date. Today is about love. I don't know if there's anything I'd rather talk about than love. When I say love, I mean God. When I say God, I mean truth. When I say truth, I mean love. When I say service, I mean love. When I say surrender, I mean love. When I say forgiveness, I mean love. When I say gratitude, I mean love. It's all love. How we experience God is love. How we know God exists is because of love. How we witness miracles is through love. How people are healed is because of love. Love is a direct characteristic of God that we get to witness, experience, observe, take part in, give, partake in, bless others with, be blessed with, be part of, grow with, promote, use, have, be a part of. Can't buy it, can't sell it. It's what you are. At different points in time, you're more of it or less of it. The way we have any experience of anything within this world is through the gift of consciousness, which is a characteristic of God. It's the omnipotence, omnipotence, omnipresence, how we would say the triune characteristics of God as far as Christianity is concerned. Father, Son, Holy Spirit is another way to think about it. But when we talk about the characteristics of God, when we talk about the unity of, the trinity of, most commonly people refer to omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence. That is words that we use to describe one characteristic of God known as consciousness. Consciousness is the backdrop out of which all things, all content, all interaction with arise from. All point back to context in one way or another. Love is another characteristic of God, which is the interaction with consciousness. Manifesting things into physicality is through the gift of love. Grace is a characteristic of love, is an aspect of God as well, but it's much more love present within consciousness, produces grace as a regularity that one can tap into or not. Love is the only thing that matters. And we're not talking about romantic love. We're not talking about Hollywood's version of love. We're talking about a connection with something greater than yourself. We're talking about freedom. We're talking about the soul getting to break through the body and know what it is and where it comes from is because of love. When we look at the Gospel of John in the New Testament, whatever kind of version you're going after, John is very much different than Mark, Matthew, and Luke. John comes from a place where it's much more metaphysical. It's much more in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And it really points back to a theology of Jesus as being at the right hand of the Creator, coming from the right hand of the Creator, here from the beginning until the end, constant, always, at all times, that happened to manifest in physicality as a man that we call Jesus. John is a wonderful gospel. John provides an insight into a theology about the Christ that we should all understand. We should all look at. We should all know it's very different than Mark, Matthew, and Luke, which were written for different audiences at different times. This was John written for different audiences at different times. Interestingly enough, John written 70 to 90 years after the death of Jesus. Mark, Matthew, and Luke written many decades, many years after the death of Jesus. But John is the one that points metaphysically to the reality of Jesus present. Why is this important? Why does it matter if you're coming from a tradition of Hinduism, or you're coming from a tradition of Buddhism, or you're coming from a tradition of Taoism, or you're coming from a tradition of Islam, or you're coming from a tradition of Mormon, or you're coming from a tradition, it doesn't matter where you're coming, what tradition, what religious background you're coming from. The exposition of love today we're going to look at as the right hand of the Creator. Now, in reality, the Creator is not a man, is not a bearded, white-headed, wise old man that sits off in the clouds somewhere that judges the quick and the dead and then decides, were you good, were you not good, you can come to heaven, you can't come to heaven. That's not God. God is not man. God is not woman. God is not singular in the fashion, nor is fashioned by how we look. God is not bound by a body. God is not bound by a sex. God is not bound by a religion. God is not bound by the parameters that we would call the physical world or anything in it. Out of the context, out of a single characteristic of an infinite amount of characteristics of God, comes consciousness, comes love. God, at the right hand of the Creator, is the gift of love. Think about that for a minute. Meditate on that for a minute. The strong arm, the way we would anthropomorphize God with having arms and legs and a head and feet and toes and ribs and muscles and so on and so forth, the way that we look at that is the right hand of the Creator is love. The strong arm of God is love. Why would love judge? Why would love condemn? Why would love banish? Why would love be upset at love's own creation? Why would love, the right hand, meaning the strongest characteristic of how we know God, the manifestation of what we would say was Jesus the Christ, how in any way whatsoever, with any possibility, would that thing, as we're talking about today, condemn you? If innately one of my major characteristics of being a human was love, and the strength of my entire being pulsates through that strong arm, that right arm being love, of how I would operate with the world, how I would grab, how I would push, how I would pull, how I would drink a Coke, came from that right arm, I would never judge. I would never condemn. I would never put down. I would never gossip. And I'm just but a mere little human, not the infinite Creator of all things in its essence personified in physicality right now. Now, in ultimate reality, what you are, what I am, what all things are God. We are so much more than this body. We're so much more than being a man or a woman or something else. We're so much more than labels. We're so much more than acronyms. We're so much more than victimhood. We're so much more than shame and guilt and resentment and cravingness and desiring and taking and wanting. We're so much more than this. We're more akin to what we actually are when we choose love, when we are loving to the world, when we promote love, when we push fear, when we peddle lies, when we try to take from the world, when we serve the master of money. We are moving away from the experience of love. We're moving away from the reality of God. We're moving away from how we know the presence of God is imminent. If you believe God is that which would smite you, which would flood the earth, which would condemn you, experiencing love is going to be very difficult. Being love is going to be very difficult. If you come at God with the sackcloth and ashes, penance for being born, it's going to be very hard to be loved, to experience it, to come from it, to have it be your right arm. But I can attest to the fact that when one surrenders over those lower aspects of humanity, of being human, when one lets go of their attachment and belief systems to God being anything other than the sponsor of love, anything other than the creator of what we are, anything other than what we are, when you let go of those things, you can start experiencing more love in your life. When you work this program, you can move into a place where you are love for the world, and then into a place where you are unconditional love for the world. 8 years ago, when I chose God, when I chose life, one of the things that I had to do was go to Alcoholics Anonymous, be part of this program. And one of the things that I saw immediately was that there was never a church service I was ever a part of that felt more filled with love than a room of alcoholics having a meeting. And you can feel it, you can taste it, you can see it, you can experience it for yourself. If every church in the world came from a place of unconditional love, which these meetings come from at their best form, this world would be transformed by church. Church would never end. Church would be everywhere you go, all things you do, all interactions you have with people. This place would be splendid. At the root of rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, good ones, not ones that have been bastardized, not ones that have been taken over by positionality and politics, not ones where crosstalk is allowed. I'm talking about the purity of the best AA rooms. You walk in and there's a whole different energy to them. The energy is of acceptance. The energy is of openness. The energy is non-judgmental. The energy is unconditional love present. And it hit me the first time I was ever in it. Wow, this is what I wish church was like. This is what I wish religious gatherings were like. I'm not saying all churches don't have love present at them. I'm not saying that different gatherings don't have a degree of unconditional love present. But what I'm saying is a room that is filled with people who have been where the other people in that room are, who have chosen a different way to live and are no longer judgmental of those who continue to choose the other way, except love for them, love for these people, because we know that if you continue to drink and you're an alcoholic, you're going to die. We know it. And so we are resolved to not judge you, but to tell you about what life is like now, what it was life like, what it was for us, and then what it could be for you. But not tell you how to do anything. God doesn't tell you how to do anything. God doesn't, if God wanted things, that's another thing. There's no love in want. God does not want you to do this or want you to do that. God has no want. God has created this entire thing that in one way or another will always point back to God, whether you see it or not, in the arrest, in the fine, in the consequences, in how this thing is set up. It is always designed in the most simplistic form for you to either see love as a possibility or more fear as a probability. When you choose love, you're choosing God. When life was changing and I needed a compass and a barometer for what the next right decision would be, what came through was choose the next most loving thing for myself and the world around me and those I would serve and God. And really it got simplified down to what is the next most loving thing? That's how life started to change. It was changed through moment after moment after moment after moment after moment after moment, choosing love, choosing love, choosing love, choosing love around the clock. From a surrender process, what took place was if there is not a direct witness and experience of love coming through, it needs to be surrendered over. Love is what will take you all the way to God. Love for your neighbor, love for your spouse, love for your ex, love for your in-laws, love for your children, love for your pets, love for your company, love for your community, love for the other positional political party. Love doesn't mean you have to condone. It doesn't mean you have to maintain activity within a world where you're abused because of someone else not choosing love, but it means loving first, loving yourself enough to forgive yourself, loving God enough to ask for help, loving life enough to be appreciative for it, for the ups, the downs, the lefts, and the rights. Love is the most amazing gift we have. In every choice Every single choice we make, and we make an infinite amount of choices at all times. I mean, if you think about it and you break down every moment into the moments making up the moment, it's always about choice. Left, right, up, down, here, there, back, forward, all of it is a choice. And in every choice, you have an opportunity to set your intent on either a loving choice or a fearful one, a judgmental choice or a loving one, taking or giving, stealing, serving, being part of a community, condemning a community, understanding a viewpoint, condemning a viewpoint. It's all love or otherwise. Love or otherwise. Love or otherwise. Love, love, love is all you have to choose all the way to God. Fear is not the opposite of love. In the ultimate reality of truth, which there is higher levels of truth, lower levels of truth, and then just no truth present at all. There is no other choice than God. But there also is no dualities. There is no causalities. There is no opposites. There is no fear being the opposite of love. All degrees of fear are characterized by less love present than other levels that one could choose to experience or be part of or witness or observe. When I was at my lowest and life was reaching expiration, a self-inflicted expiration, it wasn't that I was filled with fear. It was that there was not a presence of love allowed in. And without love, the vacancy of love allowed in, there is just the absence of its presence. And the more absence of love's presence, the more we feel disconnected, the more we feel alone, the more we feel on an island, the more we feel, the more we emote, the more we believe we are these things. It's like light and dark. Dark is not the opposite of light. Dark is the absence of. Absence of. It's like heat. Hot and cold are not opposites. How we would describe hot is or how we would describe cold is the absence of heat. It's the lack of heat. If you look around your life and it is absent of blessings, absent of opportunities, absent of connections, absent of community, absent of happiness, it's because it's lacking love. And how do you build more love in your life? You choose more loving things. At the very least, stop choosing the most fearful of things. You're not alone. You're not the only one that's done what you're hiding from. You're not the only one that's been part of what you don't want to tell the world about. You're not the only one that has resentments and fears, that's angry at things, that's filled with pride, that takes, that tries to steal, that isn't wanting to choose love. You're not the only one. Most of the world finds themselves at a place where there's not a lot of love present because they think that its scarcity is the reality. They have a mindset that has been informed over time by choices and feelings, emotions, imprinted by media and social media and advertising and everything that comes into our world from the moment we enter this world that has tried to convince us that we are not here to choose loving things, to be at a place where we can come from love, where we should be fearful, where it's about getting, it's about taking, it's about getting mine. There's no mine with love. What you see is when you choose love and choose love and choose love and choose love, it means you forgive yourself and the world around you. You forgive God. You forgive everyone for what they do. You see that God forgives you just by an earnest desire to be forgiven. You see that humility and service are pathways to God. You see that the mind is just the mind. You have one. You're not it. You see the body is a gift to move through this place to re-experience a connection with what you actually are. You don't worship the body. You don't worship the earth. There are these things that are just have been created for us to have an experience of seeming separateness, to dive into content, to get to play this video game. The way out of the game, the way to win the game, wherever you find yourself, is with love. Simple. All the way. You can take love all the way to a direct and imminent experience of God as present. If you just choose love and choose love and choose love and choose love and choose love, it will look to the world like you're crazy. It will look to the world like you're turning the other cheek when you've been smacked on one. It will look to the world like you're serving only one master, and it's not the world. It will look to the world like you're a crazy person not wearing a shirt because you gave to someone who needed it. It will look to the world like you've given away everything and you're nutty because you no longer have anything the world says is of value. Love will make you do what the world says is crazy, but the world is crazy. Love is not what's crazy. God is not what's crazy. Content is not God. Choice is a byproduct of consciousness. It's an opportunity to choose what we are, to use our strong hand, to be love. If you take Christianity all the way to its end result, you will arrive at a place that we talk about many times through Dr. Hawkins' map and scale of consciousnesses, which we use for a backdrop to understand this whole lens of consciousness. You will arrive at a place of unconditional love, which is characterized by forgive them for they know not what they do, which are words attributed to Jesus on the cross. Asking God with love in his heart to forgive the world for crucifying him, to forgive those who put him on the cross for they know not what they do. If we were going to say there is an opposite to love, we would say that it's ignorance. But even that doesn't do it because there is no opposites. The only sin that sponsors all other sin is ignorance. It's ignorance. Doesn't mean you're ignorant and with a negative connotation. It means the easiest way to be able to forgive and ask for forgiveness and find gratitude and experience love is by realizing that if we could have done better, we would have done better. If I had known then, I could have chosen different then. Love liberates. Fear keeps you hostage. Love doesn't need. Love is. Love is power. Fear is force. Force tries to come against power, but power just sits there. Love for your countrymen is powerful. Nationalized pride is not powerful. It's a force. Patriotism is love. Love for the gift of coming from the country, being born into your country, having the opportunity to serve your country is powerful. Telling those who make your country better to get out of your country, out of anger, out of fear, is force. We do not get better by force. Nothing gets amplified in its ability to make positive change with force. Force is puny. Force is weak. Force is insecurity. Force is scarcity. Force is a less than mindset. Force is I'm a victim. Force is poor me. Force is I need to steal in order to have. Force is believing your thoughts. We're talking about love as power, love as is. The way we get to experience more and more God in our life is the more love that's present, is the more imminent nature of the perfection of the Creator which shines itself forth onto our face. Love parts the clouds. Love removes the bricks in the wall. Love has forgiveness baked into it. Love connects. The closest thing we have to experiencing love from an unconditional sense is coming from a parent, not from a spouse, coming from a parent. But even that is woefully insufficient to the amount of love that could be present when you surrender around the clock, you forgive around the clock, and you see children as an opportunity to serve God. We don't have children so they can serve us. We don't get married so we can be served. We don't start companies so others can serve us. We don't run for politics so that we can be served. Love says it's time to stand up and lead in a particular way, so no man is left behind. Fear as a force says, I deserve to be in this position because I've earned it and I'm owed it because of whatever particular reason. It's trying to take. If our world was filled with politicians who came from a place of love, we would not be in the place that we are now. And I'm not talking about airy-fairy, pretend bad things don't happen love. There is no need to hide with love. Love does not need to pretend it is not taking something and then putting out into the world that it's something other than it is. Love is. It just is. Love is truth. Love is honesty. Love is patience. Love is kindness. These are all byproducts of love. If you choose love around the clock, you will be these things. You will be patient. You will be kind. You will have opportunities to serve. You will make your communities better, not by anything you're doing, but by who you are and how you're motivating the world around you and what you're allowing to come through you to make this place more loving and better. I don't care where you are in the world watching this right now, what your circumstances are, what's happening around you. If you have a roof or you don't have a roof, you still have choice. And what is that choice? Am I going to choose love or am I going to choose fear? Am I going to chase after God with truth by surrender and forgiveness and service and find ways of being of service and how I can give to people? Or am I going to take? And I'm going to believe that this world is about taking. You can choose whatever you want in this life, but when you take, when you don't choose love, when you choose fear to come from that place of hiding, of shame, of guilt, of remorse, of resentment, of apathy, of grief, of pride, of anger, and you choose to continue to believe you're these things and this is how you achieve things in life, you're not going to experience love and you're going to have to come back here time after time after time after time until you see that it's not about taking, it's about being love for the world. Jesus was here to be love for the world. Krishna was the embodiment of love for the world. The Buddha's experience of God at the end was that it was an infinite amount of love present, not the void. Enlightenment is a gift for those who choose God through love. When Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, none can come to the Father but through me, from one perspective, it's 100% correct. Because the only way you know God is through love. That's it. It doesn't matter what pathway you take. You will inevitably arrive at the choice to choose love or not to choose love, some byproducts of love. But at the end of the day, when you chase God all the way as far as this life will allow you to chase God, you arrive at a place where all that's present is the infinite nature of love. That's it. And when you see that, nothing is ever the same again. Ever. Those who choose to take and to be filled with fear and greed and lust, if you continue to choose these things, you're just going to find death and rebirth. You're going to find death a million times over and a million times again here with this life, with this body this time around, because you're going to constantly be choosing something other than what allows the presence of God to be present. God is never not God. God is never not present. Consciousness is never not allowing you to choose anything in any way, in any direction whatsoever. But it's up to you to make the choice. Until you realize and see that choice is an illusion in and of itself, all you have is choice. That's it. The primary gift of being a mini creator while in these bodies, while seemingly separate from God, is that choice is the opportunity, the mechanism to make anything different, to have any different experience of this thing called being a human. And love is the sponsor of going up, bringing heaven to earth, of Jesus' message to mankind. Jesus was love incarnate into physicality to show us what love looks like so we can have our own experience of heaven while here without having to think and have this belief system that we're forever separated from God and in hell, surrounded by, I don't know, God being over there somewhere and us being left to our own devices. Such nonsense. But you don't know it's nonsense if you don't choose love over and over and over and over again. Love is freedom. Love is how we experience God. Love is a characteristic of God, like consciousness. Peace and love for your weekends, for what's ahead of you, for choosing love, for being love, for coming from a place of love, from reaching unconditional love, from reaching the doorway of enlightenment where you realize the only way to know God is because of love. It's a gift that you can race after, you can chase after. You can be love for the world, no matter where you are right now. Ask God to please show you how love can transform your life, how choosing love is all you need. No matter where you are, no matter what's happening around you, you can choose love. You can choose forgiveness. You can choose surrender. You can choose service. You can choose gratitude. If you find yourself in a place where you are being held hostage emotionally and physically by a partner, love would not stay there. Love would not allow your children to continue to be in that position. Love does not want you to stay stuck. Love does not want you to stay beaten. Love does not want you to stay hungry. Love doesn't mean you're weak. Love is the ultimate strength. It's the ultimate position of strength. Love allows us to forgive those who have put their hands on us physically. Love also is the sponsor of not being around the allowance of that any longer. Love sees through the lies. There are no lies in love. You're not weak if you choose love. The world might say you are. The world is crazy. Take a look around the world and decide, is this what you want? You want fear? You want greed? You want theft? You want lies? You want gaslighting? Or do you want to live in a world where that is no longer part of your world? Do you want to live at a place where you pretend to be loving on Sundays and then the rest of the week you're filled with anger and fear? Or do you want Sunday to be every day? It's your choice. It's the same amount of energy to choose love as fear, as choosing surrender as holding on to, forgiveness as condemning, as service as taking. It's the same choice. It's just looking one way or the other. The only way to know if what I'm saying is true is for you to choose love right now and tomorrow and the next day and the next day. You do not have to stay stuck in the depression. You don't have to stay stuck in the remorse. You don't have to stay stuck in a loveless marriage. You don't have to stay stuck in a place where your children are being beaten by your spouse. You don't have to stay stuck in a life where you're tormented and filled with misery. You can escape. Ask God to show you how to escape through love. Honestly, ask God right now, God, please show me what love looks like, how to choose it, how to be it. Please let me choose love today, now, and forever, as opposed to fear. Please help me forgive myself and the world around me. Please help me to serve my community and not try to steal from my community. Please show me how love can transcend being a victim and positionality and judgments. Thank you for being here. Until next time, peace and love. I'm Mason Holdridge. We'll see you again. Yeah.